Alright, this is Weapon X Reacts and we're back with another video, and this is going to be a review of American Psycho. And to me, this is honestly one of the best horror movies I have ever seen in my life, as it's just so well written and terrifying at the same time. And it's a film that I totally recommend you go check out, as it's just an absolute masterpiece. But I will warn you that this is a film that deals with very disturbing subject matter. And I'm just gonna let you know that there will be a lot of spoilers in this review. I'm gonna break down the plot of this film. So, a wealthy investment banker hides his psychopathic ego from his friends, and later on, his illogical fantasies escalate and he submits to an uncontrollable bloodlust. Patrick Bateman is honestly one of the most well-written and complex characters I have ever seen in a film. And to me, this is easily the best performance I have ever seen from Christian Bale, as he brought so much to the role. And what makes this character so interesting is how he is a reflection of the greed and consumerism that came from yuppie culture in the 1980s. Especially when you look at how his whole identity is built on appearance and materialism. And not just that, but he is a man that is obsessed with the opinions from other people. And he tries to do everything he can to fit in with what society expects from him. Also, he can prove that he is better than everyone else, but really it's all just a mask to hide the fact that he is an empty human being. And one thing I like about him as a character is how his love for music feels more like a performance to conform, rather than it being something he's actually interested in. Like how in the scenes before he talks about his favorite artists, it all feels fake and pretentious, which really adds a lot to his character. And I thought the monologues throughout the film are both disturbing and thought-provoking at the same time, as it shows how disconnected he was from reality. And the scene of where he kills the homeless man is where we see just how much of a psychopath Patrick Bateman really is. Like how he starts off trying to tell the homeless man that he will help him until he decides to stab him to death, and then after that, he kills his dog. And one thing that makes this scene so interesting is how in the scene of where he tries to virtual signal to his friends about ways and how to solve the world's problems. And to me, it just shows you that he is a complete narcissist, because in reality, he doesn't care about any of these things. And it really says a lot, especially when you look at Hollywood celebrities today. And if there was one thing I liked about Christian Bale's performance, it's how he portrayed Patrick Bateman as someone who is compelling, even if he is a narcissistic serial killer. And overall, Patrick Bateman is one of the best depictions of a psychopath I have ever seen in a film. And if you actually think about it, this film is more relevant than ever, especially when you look at social media influencers nowadays. And you can really see that in the morning routine scene, which I will get into later on. And I really don't understand why the fuck people see this character as someone they can idolize. And to me, it really shows that the people who only watch this movie through TikTok edits completely miss the point of the fact that Patrick Bateman is a fucking serial killer. And not just that, but what the film was trying to say about the world he lived in. And even though he is rich and cares a lot about his physical health, he is a man that cares so much about what others think of him. that it causes him to become a victim of the environment he tried so hard to be a part of. And I even heard that Christian Bale said that he didn't like the character, even if he did such a good job playing him. And not just that, but the director also responded saying that Patrick Bateman is a character that you should not relate to. And I 100% agree with that. Because this guy is a psychopathic monster. It's just that people completely misunderstood what this film was trying to say. And I really think they need to understand the difference between fiction and reality. And this movie is a great example of that. And I thought the morning routine is easily one of the best scenes I have ever seen in this film, as it's a great introduction into Patrick Bateman's character. And what makes it so good is how it was done in a way that feels unrealistic, which really adds a lot to everything this film is about. Like how it starts off with him talking about the address to his apartment before mentioning his name. And it shows him explaining every type of product he uses in detail and how he does his workouts. And to me, the best thing about the scene is at the end of where he peels off the skin mask while saying, "I am simply not there." And it's another great example of the fact that this is just a performance to hide the fact that he has no real self outside of his appearance. As it highlights how his whole life is dominated by status and what society expects from him. And overall, this scene really shows Patrick Bateman's obsession with material wealth and wanting to have the perfect body. And to me, it was just so well done, as it highlights just what yuppie culture was like in the 1980s and how it tears people apart. And this goes the same way with the business card scene, as it shows just how shallow Patrick Bateman and his friends really are as people. And it's a great example of the fact that this is a society of where consumerism, wealth, and appearance is the only fucking thing that matters to people. And what makes it even more interesting is that Patrick Bateman's psychopathic personality is a perfect example of this. And it makes me realize that we just don't get movies like this anymore. I thought the cinematography was absolutely amazing, and it really fits with what it was like at the time. And not just that, but it works perfectly with the film's themes of materialism and the dark side of capitalism as a whole. Jared Leto did a great job as Paul Allen, even if he wasn't in the movie very much. And to me, this is honestly one of the only performances I've seen from him of where he proves just how good of an actor he can be. Especially when he's given a script that's actually well written. And you can see that in his other roles like Requiem for a Dream, for example. And one thing I liked about his character is how you are not sure if he was the person that Patrick Bateman killed. Which makes a lot of sense, especially when you look at how every person that he hangs out with all look the same. And this goes the same way with Willem Dafoe as Donald Kimball, as he did a great job playing that character, and he made this movie even way better than it already is. The production into getting this film made was really difficult. Like, like how it started off with David Cronenberg being set to direct the film. But due to the creative differences he had with Bret Easton Ellis, he rejected the film. So he went with Mary Harron instead. And I even heard that Leonardo DiCaprio was the original casting choice for the role of Patrick Bateman. All because of the fact that Lionsgate wanted someone who was more popular at the time. But Mary Harron didn't like the idea of him playing the character because he was too boyish. And later on, Leonardo DiCaprio rejected the role, which led to Christian Bale playing Patrick Bateman instead. And I even heard that people warned him that it would kill his career, but he proved them all wrong with his performance. And when the film premiered at the Sundance Film Festival, it was rated NC-17 for sexual content. So the film had to be cut down in order for it to get an R rating. And overall, while the film had a difficult production, it's still a lot better than most movies being made nowadays. And not just that, but it even looks better. Mary Harron's direction of the film was really good, as she did such a great job of adapting this film in a way that's respectful to the source material it was based on. To me, it really showed just how underrated of a director she can be. And I actually will admit that she's really underrated, despite the fact that this is her most popular film. And it's most definitely worth all the praise it got. And if there was one thing I didn't like about the movie, is that some of the female characters are forgettable, despite being really well acted, especially from Chloe Sevigny as Jean, as she did a great job with what she's been given. And I thought the scene of where Patrick Bateman confesses to his crimes is really good. And I just want to say that Christian Bale's acting in the scene is easily some of the best acting I have ever seen in a film, as you can really see that he feels bad for the things he did. But when he talks about killing Paul Allen, he feels good about himself, and it fits perfectly with his character. And you're not even sure if he really feels bad about committing his crimes, or he's just scared that he's gonna get caught. This is the rating that this film got on Rotten Tomatoes, so 68% from the critics and 85% from the audience. And I'm gonna read out the reviews right now. So for the first one, I love the message, I love the presentation, and I love the story. The character of Patrick Bateman is as strangely relatable as he is totally alien. For the second one, Christian Bale delivers an impossible, attractive exterior surrounding an empty void, but gives us enough grimly amusing moments to keep us hanging around for the next murder. For the third one, the film's crisp and controlled style is immediately appealing, but things become repetitive in the film's second act. Luckily, the open-ended and frenetic conclusion makes for an even more compelling examination of the film's themes. And that is something I most definitely agree with, and as I read these reviews, it's nice seeing a film like this getting the praise it deserves. And I thought the soundtrack was really well done, and it fits perfectly with the tone of the film, and I'm gonna show you an example of it right now. This film is so dark, but so entertaining at the same time. Like, it knows what it wants to be. Like, really, this should be one of the best films ever made. Bret Easton Ellis really knew what he was doing when he made the book and tried to adapt it into a movie, and he did a great job at it. I'm going to explain the ending of this film. So, after making a phone call to Gene, Patrick Bateman goes to his lawyer and tells him that he killed Paul Allen, until he mistakes him as just another co-worker and reveals that he recently had dinner with Paul Allen while he was in London, which makes him even more confused. And the film ends with him saying that his confession has meant nothing, and that he will never get the punishment he deserves. And to me, this was a perfect ending to a film like this. And I heard a lot of people saying that all his crimes were in his head, but to me, he actually did commit those crimes. It's just that nobody gives a fuck because they're so desensitized to shit like this that it becomes just another day for them. And it really shows just how well written this film really is. You know what's the saddest thing? Is that some people saw this character as like some Sigma male. And I actually will admit that I used to be one of those people, but when I actually watched the movie, this character is the complete opposite of that. I mean, he is a complex character, just not someone that you can say is relatable. Because that's stupid. In conclusion, this was an amazing film as it was just so entertaining to watch. And it takes me back to when movies were made by people that actually cared about telling a good story. And the fact that this film is getting a remake with Austin Butler as Patrick Bateman is a perfect example of just how creatively bankrupt Hollywood is right now. And I even heard that Luca Guadagnino is directing this film, and that's a terrible idea. And nowadays, it's more about recycling the same story over and over again rather than making a movie that people actually want to see. And trust me, this version of American Psycho is going to be woke dog shit. And it's going to be the complete opposite of what makes this movie an absolute masterpiece. And I'm just going to let you know that the next film I'm going to be reviewing is An Elephant Sitting Still, which is another great movie I totally recommend you check out, despite being very slow. Also, anyway, that's all I got for today. Go away now and always remember, strike back like a weapon against wokeness.